Spin it. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Days Grimm podcast. My name is Brian Michael Day.
My name is Thomas Grimm.
Who's joining us, sir?
Joining us this week in the Days Grimm studio is your local magician and ventriloquist, Joseph Franklin. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Mazel tov. Mazel tov. Yeah, and don't be afraid of that microphone. You can wiggle it
Hey,
around.
I'm not afraid of microphones. Trust me.
There you go, man. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Doing good?
How you guys?
Bump me down a little bit. Doing really, really good, actually. This weather kind of sucks one. But short of that, yeah, we're doing pretty good. Hanging in there. We're doing a triple header this week, so we've done a lot of recording this weekend. Really just a dump in the clutch type situation.
Starting the new year off right.
Yeah. How was the storm for you? You're from Henderson, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
How did it treat you down there? You guys get jacked up with ice and all that
Oh,
stuff?
yeah.
Pretty
Well,
bad.
we were out of power for almost 2 days, and then out of internet for another one beyond that, which was the worst. But yeah, we made it. I mean, you know.
Are you guys Duke Energy down there? Or do you have Vectrin or whatever it's called?
No. What is it called? It's.
I was just curious if you knew offhand.
I do not.
Vectrin.
My wife handles all the finances. So.
Mine too. Ours used to be called Vectrin. Now it's like Ascension or
Centerpoint.
Centerpoint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hear
suck.
good things about them.
Yeah, they suck. They literally have a monopoly on the city. It's free. We're not going to swear, so let's just drop the topic.
Well, Joseph, how long have you been doing ventriloquism and magic?
Magic, we're coming up on 37 years since my first professional show, and then ventriloquism since July of 2017. So not that long, but it really took off like a rocket when I started doing it seriously.
I'm very, very excited about this. I told Tom months ago, I said, Tom, get me a magician, and like magic, you have appeared.
There's more of us out there, believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah.
You got a gang of magicians
We
out
do.
there?
We actually have a local ring of the International Brotherhood of Magicians. It's been here since 1947. It covers southern Illinois, southwestern Indiana, northwestern Kentucky. Yeah. I'm currently the president and have been for, 100 years, it seems like, but I love it.
a better guy. You crushed it. Good
Well, shout
job.
out to Natalie Carr, who you
fellow
some
performer.
work with.
She's amazing.
She's so great. She does she do the flames and stuff too?
Yeah, I think that's...
I haven't seen her do any flame work. I'm sure she does, but I've seen her do pole work, and she's fit as all get out.
She also does bodybuilding. We had her on for...
she's a
Her
competitive
quads
weightlifter.
are terrifying.
Yes.
And I'm a grown man.
Yes, she is. She's monstrous, but awesome.
I think she squats more than I do. I think it's over 315, and I was baffled. I don't remember. Do you remember what she... It was wild.
Call back to the episode. You have to go through and listen. I know it was said in there, and I think I know that it was more than yours.
Yeah, I was pretty disheartened when she told me, but it is what it is, challenge accepted.
Right.
So make myself better. So one question we do like to ask everybody before they start is, have you had the time to check out any of the episodes beforehand?
Yeah, actually, I listened to the one with Natalie.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah.
Nice,
I
dude.
thought, it's a good place to start.
So thanks for coming in anyways.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Really proud that you didn't hear our stuff and then just be like, oh, I'm not doing that.
No, this is good. You guys cover such a wide variety of topics. I think it's a great podcast.
And we get some flack for that.
Well,
because you don't have like a niche per se, you know what I mean?
well, people can pick and choose what they want to listen to. You're upfront about who you're interviewing.
We do a good description.
Yeah,
And then we
so it's
opened
like,
with, in the first 2 minutes, they know you're a magician and ventriloquist.
and if they don't like that, they can tune out, I guess.
Trust me, they're going to love it. Yeah, this is going to be sick, dude.
But before we get into you, we like to cover this tasty little bit called the Death of the Week.
Week's Death of the Week, ladies and gents. Brought to you by WatchMojo.com, WatchMojo.com. We're talking about a gentleman by the name of Johann Moeller, a.k.a. Bala Brega. Bala Brega. Make sure I can read the whole thing. Zoom out just a baby hair. Just a baby hair. There you go. Here we go. Sometimes it's not the trick that goes wrong, but some kind of horrible malfunction on stage. This is what unfortunately happened to Swedish magician Johann Moeller. I hope I'm saying Moeller right. Moeller went under the stage name Balabrega and became famous during the vaudeville era with a trick that involved assistants dressed as moths. This is getting hot for me. Three moths would dance to flames produced by Balabrega via a gas that he'd become trained to safely navigate. It all went wrong, however, during a tour of South America and a performance in Brazil. The gas Balabrega usually used for his performances couldn't be accommodated and was instead replaced by a highly flammable acetylene. An explosion was triggered, killing him and his assistant. Call it a 2-for-1.
How appropriate.
Call it a 2-for-1.
But yeah, that's kind of wild. Like, we don't have normal gas that you use. Let's substitute something. Like, they don't have like an anesthesiologist
I got stories about last minute substitutions that went wrong. Not me personally even, but other people.
Have you heard of this Balabrega or Johann Moeller? You've heard of this incident?
I know a lot of magicians.
Do you know him because of the incident, or do you know him?
Most people do. Yeah, that do know him because it's unfortunate that you get famous for dying stupidly. But yeah, same way with, I saw PC Sorkar on the list there. Sadly, there are a lot more recent ones. Here's a bonus death of the week. Tommy Cooper was a UK magician and comedian, was absolutely hilarious. Big guy, huge guy, physically huge, and was on TV live during a gala performance on the BBC, and he bumbled his tricks a lot. That was kind of his shtick, right?
To be funny.
Yeah, to be funny.
Oh, okay.
And as he started stumbling around and was about ready to do this trick, they put this big gold robe on him, and he collapsed on stage. And they're like, must be part of the act. It was not. He had a heart attack and died on live television. And sadly, the video's out there on YouTube if you want to see it, but it's very sad.
You can watch a grown man die on YouTube?
You can, yes. And and sadly, that's what most people, when you say Tom Cooper, the guy who died on TV, he's like, yeah, but he was, so much more than that. It's just, he died doing what he loved. I mean, you can say that for sure.
A lot of magicians, there's like, when I was looking for a magician-based death, a lot of them have like, there's been a drowning where like the guy was chained and couldn't get out in time.
What about the infamous Houdini?
Houdini,
the Houdini one gets me, where he was training with his assistant or somebody in the tent, and the trick was he had a brass abdomen, basically. He was like, punch me, and he was training and training and training.
Yeah, what specifically happened was backstage before a show, some kids came backstage and asked him about that. And he said, can you take a punch to the stomach? He goes, well, yeah. And the kid punched him unexpectedly.
Is
like
that
hard.
What happened?
Yes, punched him hard. He wasn't ready. You have to tense up for that.
Yeah.
And he thought he was okay, but he ruptured his appendix. Now, unlike the 1950s movie with Tony Curtis, he did not die on stage or die during a trick. He made it through the show, but he started getting sick, and he had got peritonitis, and he held on for a week and died on Halloween of 1926. What a showman, right?
What a way to go.
He's like, I got to hold on to Halloween. They'll talk about it for years to come.
What if in the hospital he was like, is it midnight yet? Is it Halloween? And then somebody comes in, they're like, it's midnight. And he like leans over to his buddy and he's like, Tom, do it. And then they like release a cloud smoke and then he flatlines. It's just like,
he was that kind of showman, I'll tell you. I wonder if he did try to hold on, but
it's fascinating. We just interviewed Ian Cooper in his art studio. He's a local artist, internationally known, from the Fort Branch area. And we were talking about like when technology first became a thing, and we were getting to finally record video and audio of all these. We were specifically referencing Picasso. Mm-hmm. And it's just really neat that like not Picasso, Houdini. Houdini.
I know who you meant.
Houdini was right there in that era too, like in the when silent film was becoming
right. He was a movie star. He did a couple of films.
And then it's just really cool that like that technology started becoming a thing when it did, because there were just so many greats at the time, like Picasso, Houdini, that other artist that he was talking about,
Led Zeppelin.
Led Zeppelin, that's a little later, but you get it.
You mentioned that you've heard several stories of like mix-ups or last minute switch outs. What's like, you want to expand on a story or two on that?
Do you have one yourself?
I do.
Okay. I want to hear this, and then we're going to a timeline.
I have only been injured twice in my long, knock on wood,
It's actually a chacon.
Oh, it looks like wood though.
Or
it
a cajon.
It counts. Yeah, I'll knock on wood. Here, where's my dummy? No, but I used to. I don't so much anymore. I would like to again. I used to use quite a bit of fire in my stage act, and there's a couple of effects where I would produce sparkling fireballs from my fingertips, and it was. And I'm not going to expose any secrets here, but there are chemicals involved. One of them was magnesium powder, which burns really nice and bright and sparkly.
You ever do potassium?
No.
Potassium works.
Potassium's volatile.
Oh, shit.
Yeah,
okay.
but I want something. Yeah, magnesium's good until you ignite it.
Too flammable.
But magnesium does burn at about 1,000 degrees for a split second.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and so it's what they put on sparklers, basically. So I had produced the first fire. What I did was I normally produce the first fireball, and then I secretly acquire the second one and then ignite it. Well, I thought, I'll just put them both in my hand and just ignite them one at a time.
That's a bold strategy, sir.
It was not bold; it was stupid because I lit the first one and tossed it, and the second one went off in my cupped fingers.
Oh,
and I didn't feel it at first. It felt like if you just like flick your finger with your, just a little. And I was like,
sting.
In about 5 seconds, that's going to really hurt. And boy, did it! And this is at the very beginning of an hour-long show. And the audience never do a thing. My hand was throbbing. Yes, I went through the whole show, and my hand was throbbing and getting worse and swelling. And as soon as this was an outdoor show, and 2 doors down was the fire station. So as soon as I was done, I looked at my wife and said, "Go to the fire station and get some burn salve. I know they've got some. They got something to treat a burn."
Look at you doing a Houdini, though.
But this was 25 to 30 years ago.
Yeah, but look at you. You almost did it.
It's cool, man.
You sucked it up, and you put your boots on, and you just powered through it, man.
And I learned something.
I respect the hell out of it. I think that's something to be. There's something to be said there.
Yeah, the other time I injured myself, which I don't really want to talk about, the show went on too.
Oh, okay. Something brutal. We won't.
It wasn't brutal. It was. I would have to. It would be an indictment of a certain effect, and I don't want to do that.
Also, we should cover, since we're getting into like bodily harm and injury. Tom has a vago synco. What do you got?
Vasovagal syncope.
Vasovagal syncope, which means when he hears or thinks too much about like bodily harm or specifically blood. We don't talk about it very much because he'll drop on he will pass out in that chair. He will go to sleep.
Then I won't mention the second story then.
He might die. We don't know.
That's an exciting aspect.
At any rate, onward with the...
It's my magic act.
No. Strangely enough, when I first got into doing magic, I used to do what's called geek magic, which involves faking bodily harm. They used to do it in sideshows and stuff.
Oh, yeah, no, I've seen this.
I did an effect called the needle through the arm, and it's exactly what it is. I mean, it looks like the real thing. I take a giant hat pin and I ram it through my forearm, and I bleed all over the place. And
I passed out one time watching Fear Factor when I was little.
Gosh, yeah.
You would have passed out doing this. Thud. My mom saw Game Boy batteries roll across the room floor, and she was like,
"That's a cinematic shot right
Let's get to the timeline because I'm getting nervous. We're tap dancing around your vasovagal syncle.
You're from Henderson. Did you grow up in Henderson?
I did not. I was born in Kentucky, but I grew up in Illinois around the Harrisburg area.
Gotcha.
Okay, shout out to Harrisburg.
Is that where you went to high school?
Mackey's Pizza. Yes, class of '86. I'm old.
Like elementary school, that's when I first remember magic. Like seeing magic for the first time, like being done.
Well, it's kind of funny because I didn't start doing magic until I was out of high school. I always loved it, though. Ventriloquism as well. I have this picture that I found. I have it scanned in. I look at it now and then. I had to be like 4 years old out in front of the trailer I lived in on my inchworm, and Gen Xers will know that toy. It's like a ride-on toy, big green worm.
Yeah, I know.
And I'm holding my Danny O'Day ventriloquist dummy, the first one I ever got, one of those pull string, very simple plastic head, pull string, move the mouth. And so here's this picture. I'm thinking, man, I started way late in the game to just take it seriously, but I always loved ventriloquism. I always loved all the guys you saw in the 70s, Paul Winchell, Jimmy Nelson, Willie Tyler and Lester and Jay Johnson and all these guys. So I always loved it. And same way with magic. I grew up watching, Mark Wilson, of course, David Copperfield, Doug Henning. Later on, there was Marshall Brodeen when WGN, he was local Chicago, but WGN went national on cable.
May I step on your toes just for a second?
Absolutely.
I want to interject here because in the 90s, there was this famous comedian. This is back when Comedy Central was like actually comedy. And they did like a comedy half hour like once a week or twice a week or something.
A little stand-up. Yeah.
A little stand-up show. One of them was a magician, and it was at the Lizard Lounge.
Would you be thinking of Amazing Jonathan?
And it's the guy with the bandana. He always wore a bandana,
That's
long
him.
dark hair, and he did crazy magic comedy.
He didn't have dark hair, but the Amazing Jonathan, I think is who you're talking about.
Okay.
He was one of my idols. He was one of my biggest influences.
Will you look him up? Amazing Jonathan. Just Google him real quick. I want to verify that's who we are talking about. Amazing Jonathan, comedian. That's him.
Yes.
Yep, 100%. This dude, he did have dark hair.
Yeah, he passed away in 2022 there.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he had...
his Windex bit is so good.
He drinks the Windex because it prevents streaking. He likes to take his clothes off and run around.
So good.
Yeah, he was great.
He's so good. I think that I was talking... We interview a lot of comedians. We just did one... we did a comedian the other day with, oddly enough, the last name Gallagher. Shout out to the 90s again. This one doesn't smash watermelons, though. But anyways, we were talking about 90s comedians, and I was like, or just doing other things than comedy during a comedy set, like magic or like juggling or something. And he was like, I think that's a terrible idea. And in the back of my head, all I could think of was that guy.
Well, what's crazy to me is I think that like if you look at like the family tree of like comedy, magic, ventriloquism, it would all go back to like jesters.
Yeah,
sure, like the medieval era.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I wonder if there's like a jester's bible of like jokes and like things they were doing around those times. Like clearly juggling would have probably been one, maybe.
Right. Yeah, I mean, there's even connections that go just as recent as vaudeville we talked about. All of those things were done staged during, and there's a big connection with burlesque shows. There was always a comedian, like a baggy pants comedian in burlesque shows.
I like that.
With connective bits in between.
And there's nothing wrong with a beautiful lady getting her dance on,
or a pimp.
Not at all,
and some lingerie. You know what I'm saying? I'm into that. So big fan of the burlesque. But anyway, so you grew up in Harrisburg. What's that like? You know what I mean? Like, what do you do for fun?
Oh,
how did you spend your childhood?
This was the 70s and 80s. So yeah, I mean, luckily there were video games in the arcade. But I tell you what, bigger than anything, it may be even magic. I am a geek. I'm a nerd.
Yeah.
I mean, I played Dungeons and Dragons. I read comic books.
Okay.
I watched those kind of movies. Star Wars was one of the biggest events in my childhood in May of 1977. That changed everything. And I'm still that way.
Too.
Yes, it really did. It just you knew you knew the direction you wanted to go with your entertainment at that point. And so yeah, I'm still into that. I'm still a toy collector. I have another club that I'm one of the co-founders of called Inner Geeks, where we meet every month and just geek out. We talk about the latest movies, old movies, TV shows. There's just the stuff we like.
We gotta hook you up with his uncle, dude. His uncle's a collector.
Yeah, I got
that'd be awesome.
That's a collector.
Comic books and cards, and
I always tell Brian about like all the new tech stuff coming out.
Yeah.
I'm the opposite. I'm so technologically declined. Like, I am not good with technology.
I can say that I am, because that's my day job. Yeah, I'm an IT engineer. So,
are you really?
Yeah.
Okay, nice. So
show business doesn't pay the bills in the Midwest.
There is a 9 to 5 behind all the magic and
sad
dummies.
but true. Yeah,
that's very fascinating.
Did you play sports or anything through high school?
Oh my gosh! Do I look fit? I mean, seriously.
Well, like extracurricular activities, maybe.
It's kind of funny that I was a skinny, scrawny, anemic little kid all the way up through. When I was my senior year in high school, going into senior year, I was 5'10" and 112 pounds.
Dude, we were the same person. I was just a couple inches shorter. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I never really, I'm not a sports person at all. I mean, I hate to say it. But if I watch sports, I enjoy it, but I don't get into it.
Oh, really?
I mean, like billiards is probably the one I really got into when my daughter was in school. They did archery, which was really cool. So we went to all the tournaments, and I got into that, and I enjoyed watching it.
Did you play Dungeons and Dragons since you were a kid?
Yeah, since before. Well, I tell you what, yeah, it was right after they invented dice, and that sounds funny, but if you know D&D history, when they came out with the first books, they had 6-sided dice. They didn't have the polyhedron dice like 20-siders and 12-siders. You had a bowl of paper chits that had the numbers on. You drew out of those.
Oh, nice.
So, and it was about 1979 the first basic set came out that had the polyhedron dice,
like that one in the middle there.
Yeah, there's you got the 4-sider, 6-sider, 8-sider, 12-sider, 20-sider.
Neither of us have played, and we've joked around about doing like a 2-hour-long episode of like I got another buddy that like does D&D.
Yeah.
And like having like 2 or 3 other people that do D&D write a super simple like 3-hour long game and we just record it on a podcast.
That would be a blast.
That would
guys.
be sick.
Yeah.
Dude. Do a 3-hour D&D and we just grind.
Because if you get a good dungeon master, they can guide you through it. They can get you through it without having to know a lot of the rules. Because a lot of it is free will. You're playing a character. You know, when it comes to the technical side, the other players can handle that.
What do you think drew you to? What did you read? You said there's a book. Did you read the book Dungeons
the books
and Dragons?
Are like storylines that like your dungeon master doesn't have.
Yeah, it was invented as a game, but it was inspired heavily by Lord of the Rings was the biggest inspiration.
Oh, I like that.
In fact, Gary Gygax, when he created it, first called Hobbits, and it turns out that was trademarked, so they had to change it to halflings. Same thing, you know. But yeah, you basically choose a what used to be called races, now called species. You know, you could be an elf, you could be a dwarf, you could be a halfling. You could be a magic user or a fighter.
Like a djinn too, right? Isn't there something that's like a
ghost?
Well, you know, it's changed a lot over the years.
I have no clue. I've just Googled it a few times.
I thought about it. It's something I did for so long, since the 70s to the 90s. Although when you grow up and, you know, adulting gets in the way, it's hard to get a group of people together.
For 4 hours, 5 hours.
Yeah, every week or every month even. People, you know, and it's hard to write characters out of certain adventures. So it just kind of faded away.
Yeah.
I mean, I love it so much, and I'm glad it's having a resurgence. And what's cool now that a lot of these games take place over Zoom. You gotta, you know, nobody has to be in the same place at the same time.
Well, and I think we have Stranger Things to thank for that.
That helped a lot.
They single-handedly brought back D&D and Running Up That Hill by what's her name?
Yeah, Kate Bush.
Bush. Yeah,
I love Kate
Bush. What a name. What a name. Oh, God.
She was great, though. She was fantastic. But yeah, I mean, that contributed a lot to it. And you know, so nerds live on.
Yeah, dude. Thriving. Nerds are thriving.
So what did you do after high school? You graduate? Do you move?
Did you do college?
I did a little college, yeah, for a couple of years.
And that's rare back then, too, because college was like a big deal. If you went to college in the 80s or 90s, like that was a big deal, right?
It was, yeah. I mean, it's not as big a deal. I didn't go to university. I went to a community college, which was fine.
Still a win, though.
But it got me where I needed to go. But now we're getting around that time where magic became a thing, because I had this unique opportunity. I'll get this out of the way. I was a child of divorce. My parents divorced when I was very, very young.
Same
yeah,
here.
Thank you. Yes. So so my mom raised me, and then my dad at that time was a truck driver. So he was gone a lot, but he said, hey, you know, why don't you spend the summer with me? We'll drive across country. And I'm like, oh, wow, 3 months in a truck. So I can say I have visited all 48 contiguous United States.
Really?
And I have seen Canada, and I've seen Mexico over the border. But what I would do is
neither one is that great, just for the record, folks.
Well, I mean, like I say, I could have thrown a rock and hit either one, but
talking about the 51st and the 52nd state.
Oh God, please let's not go there. No politics, no religion today.
No politics or religion. This is like family dinner.
That's the rule.
This is family dinner.
So we traveled a lot, and before I really got into magic, I was a comic book collector, so I would make him try to stop at all these comic shops across the country. And if you're in an 18-wheeler, you can't just pull up to a mom and pop comic shop in a small town.
No, it's a big deal.
But we managed to get to quite a few. If they were in shopping centers, he could park, or he would drop the trailer at the truck stop, and we'd just take the truck.
Was grading a thing back then, where they would grade comics?
Well, they had grades, but it was a matter of conjecture. Gotcha. You know, I mean, you could Overstreet Guide. It had like 3 grades, like, you know. And you had to argue over what the condition was.
This was essentially, they sent out a magazine, right? And
a book. It was like a dictionary.
All the cards that existed in the values.
The Overstreet Price Guide, yeah.
One thing you're going to learn over the next 45 minutes, roughly the remainder of this interview, is I am very dumb. Can you explain conjecture to me? I know they say it in courtrooms.
Oh, conjecture. That means disagreement, possible disagreement or controversy.
Subjectivity.
Right, yeah.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. I wanted to make sure. So
yeah, I may say a comic is in mint condition. Someone says, well, no, that's near mint or very fine. And I'm like, well, you know, so we have to.
Now you're splitting hairs.
A lot of people do. So grading is a cool thing because it makes a lot of money for the graders. And the other thing is you don't really have the option to argue over the condition because it's been graded by, as long as you use a reputable source.
Yeah, I get you.
So, and I do have comics graded now.
So you're riding around in the truck post high school.
Yes.
Collecting comics.
Having a great time.
How does college fit in here?
This was in between. This was summer. So it would have been like let's see, I think between sophomore and senior year that summer maybe the summer before that, and then the summer after, and then, so it was at least 3 years, I think I did that.
Of riding around with Pop?
Yeah, which was cool.
That's dang, dude. That's
But
tight.
that's where you see your first actual real done production magic show.
No, believe it or not, this is funny.
That was going to be my next question. Did you get to see any magic shows on the road?
I remember this distinctly. Carbondale, Illinois. This was when I was,
shout out to the Salukis.
Yes.
SIU, baby.
Absolutely. And at a restaurant at the time, it was called Jeremiah's. They served steak and frog legs, the best of each, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And there was a table magician at this restaurant. Now, I'd seen table magic before, but this was when I was about, I think it was 17, I guess.
That you mean like coins, cards?
Right, close-up magic. Right, which is what I mainly specialize in. So there's this magician, and he's doing our table, and he's great, of course. But I am sitting at an angle where I saw him palm a card. I saw what he did, and I thought, and something clicked. I've loved magic all my life, but I always kind of saw it as unattainable. I don't know what it was. I don't know where that line was, but that line had been crossed.
Now,
and by no means did I call him out, because I hate that. Magicians hate that. Enjoy the show and talk about it later.
It's in his jacket.
Yeah. No, that's where the gun is. Shut up. No. You want to see my Smith & Wesson magic wand? Keep talking.
Want to see this 357?
So he did this move. I'm not a violent person. For disclaimer, I am not a violent magician.
No, that's the funniest thing you've said. That's so good. God, I enjoyed that so much. Oh God, thank you.
I have to work that in the act. So I saw this move that he did, and instead of calling him out afterwards, I practiced it, and I thought, well, okay, I can do this. Now I have this one move, and I don't know what to do with it, and I don't know where to go to find out what to do with it. There was no internet at the time, of course.
Yeah,
and so. It had to have been, I luck, fate, I don't know, because our library didn't have any particularly great books on. I mean, and I say that at the time, not that they were great. I didn't know they were. They were a little advanced, so I didn't quite grasp them. But we were at Kentucky Oaks Mall in Paducah, Kentucky. I remember this so clearly. At a Beat Alton bookseller, on the bottom shelf of this one little rack, there's one magic book. And I'm going to tell you this book because if you want to learn magic, I don't like people exposing magic, and I don't expose magic. But if you want to learn magic, seriously learn it, there's a book called The Amateur Magician's Handbook by Henry Hay. It is. I don't think it's still in publication. You can get secondhand copies of it,
like on eBay or something.
eBay and various other sources. Yes,
dude, this just looks magical.
I had the paperback version. Now it looks like a very simple kids book. It's got like those 101 tricks you can do kind of books.
Oh, they got their own grading going on here.
Yeah. As long as you can read it, you'll get value out of it. But it was a very professional book that went from close-up magic to stage magic. And I'm like, oh, okay, I've arrived. So I busted my knuckles practicing this stuff for 2 years and acquiring what props, cards, coins, sponge balls are very common. I got into those. I still do those. And 2 years after that, now actually, I'm jumping 2 years here. So I got this book, and I'm crazy. Now the other thing that really triggered my magic interest is that my dad and I stopped at San Francisco, California. We went down to Fisherman's Wharf. We rented a car and drove down there, took a taxi. I don't know what we did. Ate at some good restaurants, and there was a little tourist trappy magic shop. And what was the name of it? Oh,
and how old are you right now? You're 20-ish? 20?
Yeah, 20 times.
No, I mean in this.
I thought you meant like right now. I'm like, no.
You're like 20.
I would be like 17 or 18.
Okay, young.
Yeah. And so there was this little tourist trappy what is it? Not World of Illusion. I can't remember the name of it, but it was so tourist trappy that the exit from the Ripley's Believe It or Not Museum came out inside this magic shop. That's what kind of But they had a lot of simple tricks to sell to the masses, but they also had some professional magic. The first time I was there, I didn't know what to get, so I got a couple of things, but I wasn't that knowledgeable. Luckily, after I got hold of this book and worked on it really hard, the next summer we went out on the road again, ended up back in San Francisco. Now I'm like, oh, okay. Now I'm going to go in here. I'm going to ask for these things because I know what I want.
This is serendipity at this point.
Yeah. So, and in fact, I even got their catalog and mail order from them quite a bit just to support them because they really, they were kind of the kickoff. And then instead of instead of comic shops making him stop at those, I was trying to get him to stop at magic shops, which are even more obscure and smaller and harder to get to if you're in an 18-wheeler.
Yeah.
Luckily, there was a couple of great ones. There was two in Seattle, Washington, on Pike Place Market. I think it's still there, called Pike Place Magic. Very classic-looking magic shop.
They probably don't even have like places to park cars. It's probably just unicycle parking.
No, we
only.
rented a car for that. I remember that. There was Pike Place Magic, and it was it looks like a real magic shop. Like you expect, the secret door to open. There's a bunch of wizards back there. Yeah, it was very cool. And another place, I think it was called Mickey Hades International. I think it's long since gone. So this is what I would make him do. We went to DeVoe Magic Den in St. Louis, Missouri. Where else? There was a little place. There was a place. Oh my gosh, this is hilarious. I have folks in Florida, they used to live in Tampa, and we went down there. Now, if you're for truck drivers out there, you understand if you are driving nationally. And if you're an independent owner-operator, you normally have a dispatcher that will find you loads to get you from point A to point B. The further you get to the corners of the United States, it's harder to get back out, to get a load going out. So sometimes you've got to deadhead it. You've got to drive on your own nickel.
Empty.
Yeah, and get out. So Florida's one of those. You get down to the bottom of Florida, it's hard to get a load going back out. So we were stuck there for about a week. So my dad said, "Why don't you go over and visit your aunt and uncle and cousins?" I'm like, "Okay, cool." So I went over and stayed with them. I think I overstayed my welcome. I might have. I don't know. But while I was
they're trying to make breakfast, and you're like, "Look at this new trick I stayed up late learning."
I did bug them with magic quite a bit. But also, I bugged my Aunt Mary, God love her, to take me to a magic shop that was in Clearwater, Florida. And this little magic shop, I swear, was set up in a storage unit. They raised the corrugated metal door and opened shop. I don't know how they got electricity in there, but they did. So, I went to this little, and it was a nice little magic shop, but it was just literally in, like a U-Store place.
Yeah.
And it was so much fun. Those are great memories.
What does that say about what I think I'm taking away from most of this, for the most part, is like your dad championing you.
Both my parents were very supportive. I don't want to belittle.
All the way through.
I'm just saying that I got to travel because of my dad, but my mom is who's still alive. She's probably going to listen to this. Hi, Mom. Was very supportive.
Well, how great!
Now I will say this: it bugged her not to know the secrets. And she did threaten not to feed me a couple of times if I didn't spill my beans.
I saw a thing that was talking about like magic is done. So like, how comedy, it's like tight sitting and like shallow ceiling kind of back, like to get the laughter, you want people closer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so like I heard with magic, there's a degree range that you want all your people into because these people can almost see how the sauce is made. Whereas like the people in front of you, they're like, whoa, just like how you were talking about, you're to the side of the guy.
That is true to some degree. But if you rise to the challenge, because when I started performing with the burlesque troupe, one of our venues, now I'm saying like it's there, I'm one of them now. We perform at the Lucky Lady, which is a gentleman's club.
Oh,
so it's
I love Lucky Lady.
So it's an elevated stage in the round, surrounded, right? And they're on the floor looking up at you. They're sitting below you, and there's mirrors on every wall.
Yeah.
So you talk about a challenge for a magician.
Right.
You've got more eyes on you than you've ever had in your life. And I'm like, what am I going to do? Because I'm pretty good at covering my angles, but 360, top to bottom, side to side.
Yeah, and they're literally looking up your pant leg.
Yes, or your nose, which is worse. But it challenges the mind, and I've been able to do it. I love performing there now.
That's very exciting. And for you, like you said, to rise to the occasion, I feel like your character overall to this point in the interview, I'm very fascinated, because you have this certain amount of perseverance within you with just a couple of the stories you've told. And for me to know somebody and then hear stories of perseverance, like, ooh, that sucked, but oh, you kept going? Or oh my God, that must have been impossible. But you kept going? Those are the kind of people I genuinely enjoy having in my life. So perseverance is a great quality to have.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, and then you've got awesome parents too.
So when was your first real show, after high school?
First real
show.
What
was your first gig? What was that like? Was it just hot trash?
my first show wasn't. My second or third show was. Oh my gosh. First show. Let's see. I was in college, and it was a banquet for a group of women, not like Daughters of the American Revolution, but maybe a group like that. I remember who hired me. I don't remember the group. And they wanted about 10 or 15 minutes on the stage and then walk around just doing close-up magic at the tables.
Table stuff.
Yeah, table stuff, yeah. So I did 2 effects on stage, neither of which I do anymore, strangely enough. I probably should. They're pretty good. And did 1 round of walk-around magic. And it went okay. And I got paid $20 whole for that. $20, man.
What year?
1988.
$20 is still pretty good in the 80s, though.
Yeah.
That's a tank of gas. That's a meal.
In the 80s, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I was happy, yeah. But I also, bought a nice suit for it, too. So the money, yeah.
That's another thing. How much are there magician-specific jackets that have, like, extra holes or, like, hideaways?
Oh,
do they come with the holsters?
I'm not going to expose any secrets. I do not use one.
Tom, the answer is yes.
I can neither confirm nor deny.
He's like the Illuminati.
I like jackets with extra pockets, not for secrecy, but extra pockets just to hold more stuff so that I have more of a variety I can do without having to have a case or
to reach. And it's just on your person.
Right. Yeah. So if you're doing close-up magic, you generally want the majority of your magic on your person. Organized, and so you have more pockets, the more you can organize.
Something ubiquitous with utility, like I get what you're saying.
There's like some jackets have this little tiny, I don't know what it is, like a coin pocket down here, and that's really handy. And this one, this is my other jacket. My other one has a pocket within a pocket, which is kind of nice. So I can keep pins from getting in the way of cards, and I can keep coins from getting loose in the pocket where I can't reach them. Things like that.
I like that.
It's not for secrecy. It's just
pull $1 out of some place that nobody thought $1 would come out of.
There's nothing worse than putting something back in the wrong pocket. You're at the next table, and you're like, and now.
My favorite
I'll do a
thing,
different trick.
You'll know this reference. We both watched this show, Kill Tony. I don't know if you're familiar. It's the number one live streaming podcast on YouTube.
Okay.
They're the number one when it comes to downloads. But essentially, I won't run you through the gamut, but basically it's like a stand-up comedy podcast.
That's cool.
That's the short and skinny of it. But they had a magician come on. It was like a friend. Do you know which episode I'm talking about? It was just like 4 weeks ago, but it's a friend of the host, and he just happened to be stopping in, and he goes in front of the crowd, and the trick he did was fascinating. He reached out to the crowd, and he said, I need a woman with a purse, and any woman, doesn't matter. Give me 3 women hold their purses up, and he picks one, takes the purse, goes in there, pulls out like a wad of cash, I think. I don't remember how it worked, but essentially he like took out a $20 bill and then like gave her the purse back and then drew like a message on the dollar bill or something. Do you remember this?
Yeah.
And then how did he finish it? He like
gave it to somebody or something and
crumpled it up
and write it.
Yeah. And then took the dollar bill and like put it in his pocket and then talked to the same lady without leaving the stage, talked to the same lady and was like, now go into your purse, pull out that wad of cash and pull out a $20 bill. And then it was the $20 bill that they had wrote the message on. Somehow. I have no idea.
Yeah.
Complete tomfoolery. I have no idea what happened. But that's
good. That's how we like it.
It is so fascinating. Magic is so
Do
fascinating.
you remember what
me.
happened after that?
No, I do not.
Cam Patterson walks on stage and said, all right, I'm going to do some magic. Give me a purse.
Oh, yeah. This
is an upcoming African-American comedian.
Yeah, it was so good. He goes on stage. He was like, all right, white lady, give me your purse. That's what he said. He was like, give me that purse, lady.
Oh, I love that.
It was so funny. I'll show you after the... One thing I do want to ask, though, before tonight ends, will you do a table... Will you do a table trick for me and explain it to me? We don't have to do it on the podcast.
He can't explain it to you, but
I am gonna say this as silly as it may sound, but it's actually true. When I joined the International Brotherhood of Magicians, I did take an oath.
No,
there is a 4-part ethics oath that we take. Now, and the 4th one is shockingly more recent. The 4th one says don't harm animals. That used to not be a tenet. And I can tell you,
we
some
were
stories.
just whacking animals on stage.
Oh, dude,
a rabbit overheated
there
in
were
your
some
coat.
terrible stories, especially from the 19th century, where like if you wanted to like kill and restore a dove, well, guess what? You end up with one dead dove. It's terrible. It's terrible. So
But you can
I
eat
mean,
the
we didn't-
dove after.
we
you
didn't.
know?
We
Like,
didn't. Yeah. Well, I
settle
mean,
down,
like
Ozzy
the
Osbourne.
audience. The audience would
Dove's
have no
good.
idea that you actually harmed an animal in order to bring it back to life. But even in the 20th century, there were tricks that were a little rough on animals. They didn't necessarily kill animals.
Rough. They were schwacking doves.
Yeah, poor old doves. I'll tell you what. Even in my early days when I would see stage shows, I would see some doves that looked a little feather bare. They were a little rough, and I'm like, wow, these guys are old hands at this.
They're not Mike Tyson treating the
They are
doves.
veteran doves.
Yeah, they've seen some stuff. You know, they're out there.
Doves like, is it my week?
They're back there.
When the show's over, they're just back there smoking a Camel
Yeah, and it's like,
cigarette.
oh man, I got to get out of this racket. Oh, it's killing me.
Did you see what they did to Jimmy? Oh God.
Next show's coming up in a few hours.
Yeah, just shaking with
It's
PTSD,
not that. There was a time that wasn't that far from the truth, but
But you can't
I
explain a
will.
joke.
I'll have to think about it. I'm not going to make any promises. I mean, it's one of those things. Like I say, there's a difference between exposing magic and teaching magic. You see a lot of exposure on YouTube, and I don't like that. I mean, it takes the magic away.
Well, let's
It
call it
doesn't-
teaching.
It doesn't. Yeah, I mean, if you really want to learn magic, I'll just give you the best resource. You know, if you really want to hit it hard, when you really get in to the meat of it, though, it's going to, to claim to phrase a very old adage, it's going to separate the men from the boys. But I'm saying, casual fans of magic are not going to stick with it because it's not necessarily easy. You may find that it's enjoyable, and if you work at it, you get good at it. But in it of itself, it's not easy. And people always ask me, "What's the hardest part of magic?" And I said, "Well, entertaining an audience." I've seen some guys that were masters of manipulation with their hands. They're astounding. They're boring as hell, though.
Yeah, no social connection.
Right.
Yeah.
And even some that went on to become very renowned, famous, contributing a lot to magic. And I'm not going to name any names. But it's, you've got to entertain an audience. Same way with with ventriloquism. What's the hardest part of ventriloquism? Comedy writing. I mean, you can learn to do the not moving your lips. I can teach you that right now. But it's you've got to entertain an audience. You've got to come up with material.
Yeah, and that was going to actually be my next. I was going to kind of try to segue into the ventriloquism.
There's a long gap there.
Yeah.
What was that magic
you want to
gap
fast
leading
forward?
up to ventriloquism? Like, what are some highlight moments along the way before?
Well, let's see here. I performed on local television. There was a brief time I was out of it. I'll probably talk about that later when we come up with that the final question there. I really, when I got back into it, I really threw myself into it, and I met a couple of local magicians who helped me greatly get back on that horse. And that's when I was able to join the IBM, the International Brotherhood of Magicians. I found that there was a local ring, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to get in on this. So in February of 1996, I carpooled with a couple other magicians down to Henderson, Kentucky, where they met in the basement of a local legend, Norris Priest. And I basically auditioned, I guess you could say. I did quite an elaborate trick. I did a torn and restored card inside a inflated balloon, which was kind of neat. And I met a bunch of the guys, and I was just like, wow, I'm home. I wish I had known this.
Like that.
By that time, I had been in magic several years, and I'm like, man, I wish I couldn't have made the journey from Illinois to Henderson all that time. But I was like, wow, I wish I'd known about this sooner. So I got in really heavy there. I just dove right in. And at that same time, I met one of my dearest friends for the last 20 years of his life, Bill DeMar, who was a renowned ventriloquist, who was from this area, traveled the world. He's very big in the Vent community. Everyone knows him and loves him. And he moved back to Evansville, and I happened to meet him. And I thought, wow, cool, I know a ventriloquist. So we really hit it off. And he had written a book. This is funny. Okay, the Dummies books, like Math for Dummies, and have you ever seen a Ventriloquist for Dummies book? There isn't one.
Dummies for Dummies?
Because Bill DeMar wrote it. And it was not an official Dummies book. It was before there was the Dummies series. He had the name. You see, now there was a Ventriloquism for the Complete Idiot. There was a Complete Idiot series of books too. But there was a Ventriloquism for Complete Idiots, not a Ventriloquism for Dummies, because that was Bill DeMar's book.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. But
okay.
But anyway, so he gave me a copy of his book and autographed it and stuff. This is so cool. So why don't I learn this? Because I've always loved ventriloquism. So why not? Why not learn it? So I studied his book and I practiced and I got pretty good at it and never did anything with it because I thought, well, he's the ventriloquist, I'm the magician. Well, even when we're working together, he does his thing, I do mine. But that's
it's
the way
cool
it works.
to like compare and talk. And,
sure. And I always love learning new things.
Yeah.
I always love learning new things for whatever reason. So we were friends for, like, say, for 20 years. I was working a little later, and after that time, I took over working the magic shop at the Knickknackery here in town when they had a little corner magic shop. I worked there for every Saturday for many years, and Bill would come in. He'd hang out for the whole afternoon, and we'd talk. And then we'd go have dinner at the Naughty Pine Cafe. It was just our weekly thing. So we got to be really good friends. And he talked a lot about ventriloquism, the people he knew. He knew everybody you could ever imagine. And then, let's see, the magic shop, the Knickknackery, kind of closed. Time went on. I was married. Had a daughter in 2001. Things kind of just we didn't really grow apart, but we didn't get together as much as we had in the past. But his son, he goes by Bill Delmar, moved back to town. I got to be best friends with him, still am. And we had a magic business for a while. We traveled around to conventions and did stuff like that. And he was also a ventriloquist and a magician. And all this time I kept thinking, man, I've always wanted a ventriloquist dummy, like a really professional one. But I wouldn't use it, and they're very expensive, and I don't, what am I going to do? I don't know. Time went on, and Bill DeMar fell ill and was hospitalized and was put in hospice care. He was not going to make it.
Yeah. And
shortly after that, he had a stroke. And I did get to have one final conversation with him. And I did, at that time, I was doing a tad bit of ventriloquism because I had made a ventriloquist mask, which is a mask that fits over a person's face that has a moving mouth. So you can make a volunteer talk, basically. Yeah. And I told him I had made one, and I was kind of using it a little bit. And he was kind of impressed by that. We had one good conversation at the hospital. And the next time I saw him was after he had had the stroke, and it was not, it was not, it was what it was, but it was very close to the end. And then it happened, and he passed away in 2015, I guess, 2014, 2015. And it was a sad time. It really was. But I was still friends with his son, Bill. So from now, when I say Bill, I'm talking about Bill. I want to say Bill Jr., but he's actually Bill III. Bill DeMar was Bill Jr. So Bill said, hey, you've always wanted to go to the convention. Now, in this case, I haven't mentioned this yet, but every year there is a ventriloquist convention just 3 hours down the road outside of Cincinnati.
No way.
The International Vent Haven Ventriloquist Convention. The reason it's there is that the Vent Haven Museum, which is the largest dedicated ventriloquism museum, is right there in Fort Mitchell, Kentucky, and you're welcome to visit it. Just call ahead. They'll open it up for you. It's an amazing place. And he said, you've always wanted to go to the convention. Why don't you come with me next year? I said, well, okay, let's do it. We'll split the room. We'll go down. I'm still a magician at this point. I'm not a ventriloquist, but I'll get to meet everybody. I've always wanted to see Jay Johnson's always there. And I had met Jeff Dunham years ago because Bill DeMar was one of Jeff Dunham's mentors. And that's how big Bill DeMar was. He had an influence on Jeff Dunham. So when Jeff was coming to the comedy club here in town, we would hang out, right? When it was when we had the Funny Bone. He's a little bigger than that now. So anyway, So I decided in 2016, I think, to go to the convention. So we hopped in the car, went down there, and it was great. It was a week-long convention. I got to meet all these famous people, see these shows, look at these puppets, and I'm looking around after it's all said and done. We're driving home, and I'm like,
I'm buying a puppet.
Well, I said, you know what? Maybe this is my calling. I don't know. But I at least want to maybe build a dummy between now and next year. And I don't know if I'm going to get up and perform, but at least it's I've got that in my head. And there was a figure maker named Mike Brose who sold, he's since passed away. He sold resin cast head kits. So it's a hollow head with a separate jaw and a back plate so you can get in, and other like eyes and stuff. And I thought, I can do this. I can do this.
Easy peasy.
So I got this resin kit, and I'm like, okay, cool. And it was very well made, fits together nicely. So I made some eyes. I made eye mechanics. I worked out the mechanics for the mouth, but the stick, I got a body, made most of the body, resin hands, dressed him up, and I found a really terrible wig, and I put it all together, and I'm like, this is cool. I did this. I did this myself. I made the controls like I want them, which is a bad thing because it's not like any other dummy. If I pulled a dummy off the shelf, I couldn't use it. My hand wouldn't work. And I'm showing Bill, and I said, Bill, this is your fault because you got me into this, but I'm going to take this guy to the convention next year. We'll see what happens. And I also...
Well, the nice part is like you learned the ins and outs of like future repairs or like whatever.
Yeah, because I'm going to upgrade him.
Quite literally as well, the in and the out. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
And, but almost, 20 years prior to that, I had bought a clown puppet.
Nightmare Town.
Oh, you have no idea. This was not a professional puppeteer's puppet. It was, well, you can see on my website there, that's the new Dundles the Clown. The original.
Oh, terrifying.
He's fine. The original one, I'm going to show you a picture, man. I'm going to scare you to death.
Oh, text it. Do you have Tom's number?
Facebook.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I can put it up on screen.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, cool. Okay.
Send it to us in Messenger.
Let's see here.
And
Let's
then we'll
find
put it up on the thing.
Let's find a good.
But
Find a good picture. Oh, there we go.
So the one thing that the audience doesn't know, because we said it pre-show, puppets for me are just all god awful terrifying.
All puppets?
Yeah,
Really?
dolls, ceramic dolls,
marionettes?
I don't know what a marionette
The
is.
string puppet?
Terrifying.
Okay.
Yep. Yep, absolutely. Master of puppets.
We need to talk about scary movies then.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pinocchio. He's really scared of watching Pinocchio.
Pinocchio, not my favorite. Yeah, not my favorite.
You're really going hard there on the
yeah,
puppet.
it's the it's the same thing with clowns. I feel the fear is the same. So
Did
with
you
clowns,
not like the Muppets growing up?
I did not. Kermit could get bent.
What about Mr. Rogers?
That's how I felt about it.
Mr. Rogers had those.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Some of the puppets in Mr. Rogers were scary. Like Lady Elaine Fairchild was just
Lamb
like,
Chop. Do you remember Lamb Chop?
I met Lamb Chop.
Terrifying to me.
Really, Lamb Chop.
But
the
fear,
sweetest puppet on earth.
There's a name for people for the phobia that is from clowns, and it's not that
Orophobia.
It's not that you're afraid of clowns.
I think.
You're afraid of hidden emotion. And there's a phobia for that, and that's what typically people that are afraid of clowns. So, and it's the same for me with puppets. It's not necessarily a hidden emotion, but it's like that they're so humanistic. But like you can't see the true what's happening inside them.
That I can understand because if you I wouldn't recommend visiting the museum, by the way, for you.
I didn't want to mention it, but I'm not going to.
There are walls and walls and walls of ventriloquist dummies, and seeing them sitting there lifeless, I understand it to an extent. Oh, here's some irony for you. When I was a kid, I was terrified of ventriloquist dummies. Between episodes of The Twilight Zone and the Anthony Hopkins movie Magic and all this, they made them scary.
Yeah,
so,
Twilight Zone was so good.
Yeah, they had two of them that featured the same dummy but different stories. And so I do kind of understand it, but I mean, once they come to life with a performer and they're being funny and entertaining, to me that does come through, and I think that's the responsibility of the performer. Just like clowns, a bad clown can be scary. But a good clown can be just the opposite.
Nope, still terrifying.
Well, if you have a phobia, I understand that. Yeah. And same way with puppets. If you don't operate or manipulate a puppet correctly, it's going to not seem very alive.
And speaking of, you did bring a puppet in. This gentleman's name started with a D. I've already forgotten
it's Del Deminsky. He's my
Deminsky. Can we say hello to Del?
You can. Let me get him out here.
Maybe get him on.
Let me give him a proper introduction. He's my right-hand man for 8 years. He's a friend I made, literally. And here he is. Del Deminsky, get up here, Del.
Such a good...
Well, Del, you got me out here. We got right. Okay, now calm down here a little bit. Where's the audience? This is not a show.
Let him go into the mic. He's got to talk into the microphone. So.
I don't. He doesn't know how this works. Okay, I know. It's a funny story about that. What are you going to tell him, the Jay Johnson story? Yeah, Jay Johnson, who was on the soap, the sitcom Soap in the late 70s, which was a groundbreaking, very quirky sitcom. He was playing a ventriloquist because he was a ventriloquist. He had a puppet named Bob, and they were having trouble hearing Bob, right? And they couldn't figure it out. Well, they have a boom mic you can't see. Well, they're holding the boom mic over Jay, and when Bob talks, they move the boom mic over to Bob, further away from Jay, and it's like they think he's real. Well, we are real.
How you guys doing?
Doing good.
Great.
Doing
All right,
good,
good,
Del.
good.
Del, how are you? You doing okay?
I'm doing great.
Little
Once
coop-
I got the hell out of that trunk, yeah.
I was gonna say you're a little cooped up in there.
Yeah, I can't breathe.
What's your favorite thing about being
a dummy?
being a dummy? Yeah.
Oh, they say what now?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't. He's not a big fan of the D word. Yeah.
yeah.
That's
It's like
right.
yeah. So what's your favorite thing
You're
about?
the dunny.
Okay.
What's your favorite thing about performing?
What is the favorite thing about performing?
Well, I don't know. I would say getting paid, but you don't pay me.
Oh, that's right. I don't. Yeah. So,
That's
Yeah.
a shame, dude. That's a
It
damn
is a shame.
So is it a process to learn to like make them blink every so often and everything?
it
along
is.
those
Yeah.
lines?
You kind of have to think independently. It's almost, I mean, once you work with puppets for a while, it does become, you just kind of separate that part of your mind. That's the problem with movies.
Yeah, no, these are all problem.
Yeah, they always depict ventriloquists with a split personality or some sort of weird sickness.
Kind of like yours.
Yeah, that's right. And so that's basically that's the two plots of a ventriloquist movie.
Yeah, either the dunny comes to life, or the ventriloquist is crazy. And only one of those things is true.
Breathwork's got to be a fun trick.
Yes, that actually is one of the things in Bill's book was like the controlling the breath because you've got to have enough breath for both. And it's interesting when I do Dell's voice.
What's wrong with my voice?
I do not. It's fine. Just calm down. So if I'm doing certain voices that are high pitched, I can project really good. I can go way back. Get ready. Can you give me a scream?
You need a scream?
I'm gonna lean back and you scream. Okay.
Okay, how's this? I can talk really loud. I don't even need a microphone.
See, I can project that voice really far without a microphone. But if I'm doing like Dundles the Clown's voice, his voice is way down here, and I've got to get way up on the microphone. Like this. So it varies according to what the character is. Oh, what did you?
Well, he brought up a good point. We've got a man off camera over here, and he does bring up a good question. So does I don't know if you know anybody that does like vocalist or vocal singing or stuff like that, but is the breath work that you have to do for puppeteering or for ventriloquism similar to someone who like practices vocals for singing?
Yeah.
Same like diaphragm work?
Yeah. In fact, I've seen lectures at the convention where they bring voice coaches and singers in that literally will teach you how to control your voice. They make sure you have enough breath, to get the words out, that you don't stumble, that you learn how to take care of your voice. Because today, my voice is a little bit lower today. I had to think about. I'm not really a sore throat, but it's just that kind of a little bit of a rasp there, So I've got this thing going on.
You got that radio.
A radio voice.
So what's upkeep?
KTLA, Los Angeles.
What's it like to upkeep? Like to keep a dummy in good shape?
Is Dell high maintenance?
Not bad. Like I say, he's the original one that I built 8 years ago. I am gonna build him a new head with new movements because right now we have the blink your eyes. You see, you got a little trick here that his eyes don't actually blink; the eyes actually roll, and he has eyelids on the eyes, so he can do this. I love that little movement there.
Oh, and it's the same movement. Or
yeah,
the same
I just
control.
reverse it, so he kind of looks. He's going to lose that movement with the new head, but he can also do something really cool. Because we always talk about, ventriloquist dummies coming to life. Oh, yeah, they come to life. So he can roll his eyes completely
Nightmare
back in
Town.
his head. Yeah. So, yeah.
I'm not sleeping well tonight.
Yeah.
That's what's going to... How old is Dell? Dell, how old are you?
I don't know. How old am I?
Old enough to drink. That's all I can tell you.
You ever gonna
We've talked about that. When you create a character, it's always good to come up with a backstory, and it helps. So the only backstory I have is he's old enough to drink. That's really about the only backstory.
Has he ever performed
has.
at the Lucky Lady?
Oh, yes.
It'd be funny to add
Absolutely.
like a little.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, let him pitch a little tent.
It's kind of funny. I started.
Oh, you're terrible.
Not
It would be
long
funny.
after. No, this is what's great because I perform. Guys, I'm telling you what, I perform for children, preschool children, all the way up to adults, and I perform family-friendly shows. And then for, when I joined the burlesque troupe, that was in December of 2018. I thought, wow, I can really let loose.
You can cut loose now.
Yeah, I mean, this is an adult show. So Dell is the worst. I'm trying to control him today. He really gets,
really get off the hook.
yeah, and but yeah, I mean, I do some humor like that when it comes down to it. I have a female character whose name, and she's kind of a randy old gal. She's an older woman, but she's very sexy and very experienced.
Would you say Milfy?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
there we
yeah,
go.
yeah,
okay,
extremely.
I'm on board. I'm on board. I'm on board.
And she has a voice, and she talks like this, darling. She has this vintage posh accent, like an old actress from the silent era, and her humor is. I mean, I always say she's not suitable for anybody. I mean, she's, I came up with some jokes for her that I'm embarrassed.
Anybody.
Yeah, it's really, and so she's strictly for adults, and we do really adult humor, and it's, I mean, I'm not bragging, but I think it's pretty funny because the audience just dies when we do this stuff.
Does anybody ever help you write your sets? Like if you're like, hey, I need a more kid-friendly few jokes or anything. Like I'm thinking about doing something new with the clown.
Not directly. Interestingly enough, at the convention, Jeff Dunham did a lecture on comedy writing. So, hey, I learned comedy writing from Jeff Dunham, and it was really helpful. So I try to get inspired, but I try to make it my own. Now, you can buy books and books of vent scripts that you can use freely, and they're pretty standard stuff, but they're a good springboards for plots. Like, oh, I like this, but I want to go this direction, or I like this particular line, and I'm going to reshape it a little bit. So I try to write most of my own, but I am inspired by other things. You don't want to steal from anybody. I hate it when somebody comes up with something so good, you wish you thought of it. But it's like,
You're
so
like,
much for that, right?
Like
I can't.
So I don't
steal
want
from
to.
them.
I want to get playfully morbid here with Del before we say goodbye to
Let's
him.
do it.
What's the life expectancy of a puppet, whatever the proper vernacular is,
The
Del?
hell is he talking about?
You're gonna die one day, Del. No, I'm joking.
That's what you think. I'm gonna haunt your dreams forever.
Yeah, I'm gonna actually have a panic attack.
Throw me at him.
No, I'm not going to do that.
Just catch him.
Yeah.
So what is a puppet? What's a puppet good for? Like, how long will Del be with us? You know what I mean?
Physically, he's going to be around forever.
Oh, okay.
And interestingly enough, I mentioned the Vent Haven Museum down in Fort Mitchell. That is where dummies go when their performers either want to move on, donate these puppets to move on, or when they pass away. So I can guarantee you that that's going to be Del's retirement home. He's going to be.
Do some people get buried with their
You hear rumors about that, but I don't.
This is getting too dark for me.
No, you always hear rumors about that. I think it's kind of urban legendy. I don't think.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's at least one. I don't know. I'm not going to be. Del's going to go to the museum. He's going to be with his friends there.
and a good retirement home.
It is. It's amazing, and almost all of Bill DeMar's puppets are there. When he passed on, Bill donated those. So I get to see
that portion you mentioned about Jeff Dunham being an understudy to Bill is fascinating.
Yeah, it's what happened was
Jeff is so huge.
Well, Jeff started in the 70s as a kid, and he has been to the convention every year except 2 of those years since 1970, whenever 4, 5, 6, I don't know. And when he got started, he was, of course, really good at manipulating a puppet. And Bill DeMar used to give out what he called his Bill DeMar Manipulation Award for outstanding puppet manipulation, because that's really key, to make a puppet seem alive is to keep him moving and to manipulate. And Jeff was great at this. And the 2 times that Bill gave out this award, Jeff won it both times. So he stopped giving it out because you kept giving it to Jeff. It's like you're too good. I can't not give it to you.
Yeah.
But that's the story as it goes. I don't, I don't claim to be an expert. That is the story as it goes. I can probably verify that with a couple of friends, but it's interesting. Yeah,
that is, and also I'm very pumped that we're seeing Del. That he's the first one that you made in that story that you explained to us with the mold and all that stuff. And he's
number one, lady.
He's one of one, and he's the first. And he does look really, really great. I think.
Why? Thank you.
Yeah, I'm
You're
really
kind of sexy yourself.
Thanks, big fella.
You got an OnlyFans?
I appreciate you.
Okay,
well, hey, actually, we're starting an OnlyFans. I'm glad you asked, Del.
Oh, your first customer.
Okay, stop that.
Give me your phone.
Okay, stop.
He's gonna charge your card, dude.
Oh, I can't.
No, I'm really pumped about it.
Has anybody else driven your buddy here?
No. This is strange. I didn't think I would be like this, but a long time ago, Bill DeMar, he has a an incredible puppet. It was made by one of the greatest figure makers in history. His name was Frank Marshall. Frank Marshall made all of the big ones at the time, hand-carved wooden puppets. And this puppet was just priceless, and it was amazing. And I always kind of hinted hey, I always wanted to know how a dummy worked. And a long time went by. He would kind of casually brush that off. And one time I went to his apartment and I walked in, and there's his Chuck Norwood was his figure. So Chuck was sitting on the table, and he says, "Come in here before I change my mind." And I'm like, "What?" He goes, okay. And he stepped back. He let me put my hand inside Chuck and move the controls a little bit. And I sensed that this was huge.
Yeah.
And as it turns out, that Bill Jr. didn't even get to do that. He was kind of jealous at the time anyway. So now that I have...
It's like an extension of you.
It is. It's like, I don't know. Well, a friend of mine described it like this. It's like you don't let somebody else use your tarot deck, which I'm not into tarot, but I understand that it's something very personal. And I've even turned down, there was a kid at the convention who wanted, they said, I said, well, I'll show you. I'll take him apart and show you everything how he works if you want, but I can't let you manipulate him. That's just not... You understand, it's very
bad
personal.
juju.
And he understood, So I am kind of like that,
Slightly possessive, but for all good all good purposes. I feel like, yeah. No, it's fascinating. And honestly, you are really good at like keeping him alive. How he just kind of like bebops around and he's blinking and looking. I've actually, while you were talking to Tom, he happened to spin his head this way, and I smiled at him as if he were a real human. So I think I'm gonna have to get checked out by a doctor.
What makes you think I'm not?
I'm gonna have to get looked at after this. I don't know, man.
So how long? You said you've been doing ventriloquism for probably 10 years.
Close to it.
Oh, almost.
Yeah, ventriloquism. I can tell you it was 2017 July when I first hit that mark, I guess, and called myself a ventriloquist.
So what was it like performing your first ventriloquist show?
Oh gosh, well, we kind of started on that. And we got off on the clown tangent.
Oh yeah.
So my first clown, I sent through Messenger. I sent a picture of the clown.
I'll pull it up on screen in editing
because I want you to see this. This was a terrifying clown prop. It was a puppet, but it was not a professional puppeteer's puppet. It operated like a puppet. It was heavy latex, foam filled, very difficult to operate. But I was a Halloween fan, and I got a good deal on it. And the story goes, Jeff did not corroborate this, but the guy said, I was going to sell this to Jeff Dunham, but his wife wouldn't let him because it was too scary. Let him buy it. And I'm like, oh, well, that's a good story to tell. When I did finally get a chance, like 25 years later, to ask Jeff, he said, I don't remember that. So, but keep telling the story, he says. So at any rate, there's this terrifying clown puppet I've had just long, but 20 years before I thought of being a ventriloquist. And I showed it around. I used it at Halloween, played around with it, and it was just kind of a fun thing to have. Got a great deal on it. But when I decided to do ventriloquism and I was building Dell, I thought, gosh, I should dig out this clown and try to write a routine for it. And the challenge would be, since he's a terrifying, he was jagged teeth, and killer clowns were like kids show stuff next to this clown. It was made by Bump in the Night Productions. It was a 43-inch tall clown puppet that was just monstrous. So I thought,
how tall is Dell for a frame of reference?
Let's see. How tall are you? Uh-oh. Why is your mouth stuck open? I don't know. You listen, I hit a... That hurts. Okay.
Probably like, 4 feet?
Yeah. Well, I know he's a 3T in clothing size. So,
okay, nice.
Yeah, he's about a little more than 3 feet, close up, maybe 40 inches, 42 inches.
Okay.
So Dell is a tad tall, or Dundles is a tad taller. So this terrifying clown puppet, I wanted to write a routine that would be sympathetic, make him seem like a sympathetic character. Well, what are they going to do? So I got inspired by a couple of things, and I wrote this routine. This was between that year when I was just starting to thinking about being a ventriloquist. And at the convention, they have a late night open mic session. You just sign up and perform. And man, I went to the convention with this clown and with Dell, and with the intent of doing Dell actually on the open mic. And I met with one of the, and I'm going to say this if you're out there listening, Dan, one of the greatest, if not the greatest ventriloquist in the world. His name is Dan Horn. He was offering coaching sessions. And I had loved this guy since I first saw him in the 90s, In fact, at a local comedy club, I got to meet him years ago before any of this. He was a friend of Bill's again. And I'm like, I got to do this. So I scheduled a time, and I spent an hour with Dan. I was nervous to death. But what I learned was that Dell wasn't ready for prime time. That was my big takeaway, is like, he's not ready. He's I hate to say it, but he's too generic of a character for me to be able to write anything with right away. I got to work on it more. My clown had a hook because he was a terrifying clown. The hook was there. So I decided I was going to do who I called Dundles the Clown, and got up that late night there with this scary clown, did this 6-minute act, and it killed. And I'm not bragging. I was as shocked as anyone. And I'll tell you another story. I'm going to drop a lot of names during this show because I want to credit everyone who has ever been an inspiration to me.
No, please. Yeah, absolutely.
So 2017. So I did this late night, and this woman comes up, and she says, you know, I'm a professional clown, and I wanted to hate that clown the moment I saw him because we don't like that scary clown image. I said, I understand, but you won me over. I think it's amazing, and we need to do something with that. You need to keep it going. And I said, oh, great. What's your name? And she says, Dana Barnum. Like,
as in the
Barnum
famous
and Bailey.
Barnum and Bailey.
She is part of the Barnum family. And I was like, wow. So this woman who's a professional clown who, and that was one of my challenges too. So that just knocked me out of the park, you know? So, and we became friends but so the first thing I realized was I've got a good act. The next thing is like, where can I do it? This clown is terrifying. Can't do it for kids shows. Can't do it when I do the Shrine Clown Christmas party. Can't do it there. They don't like the scary clown image there.
Can't take it to church.
Yeah. So it's like,
what are we going to do here?
Right. So I'm like, what am I going to do? So I commissioned a young puppet maker named Landon Harvey. Hey, Landon. And to make me a clown. And I designed this clown, drew him all out because I wanted him to be a kind of a beaten up rodeo clown.
Okay.
A downtrodden. Because I would do the exact same act word for word, but it would work with this new clown. And I commissioned and paid him to build this puppet, and it turned out great. And that's what I do it now. Now, this is the funny part. I didn't get rid of Dundles 1.0, the scary one. And every once in a while around Halloween, somebody will say, hey, can you pull out the old clown? I'm like, yeah, I guess I will. Because this last year I did a show called Oddfest in Fairburn, Ohio, which was a sideshow oddities show. You know,
yeah.
And I'm like, well, I got to pull out old Dundles again.
All right, Dundles.
So is an oddities thing like chicks with beards, or like is it basically like circus acts? You know, or
no, well, not quite like that.
Show?
Not necessarily freak show, but more like the geek magic I was saying, like people walking on glass, juggling, and you know things like that. So I did some of my more dangerous stuff for that show, and my act, and then I did Dundles the Clown because he's always a hit.
Golly.
So,
well, you said too,
yeah.
since you've like started doing ventriloquism, that you've had like a few, is it voice acting like things for like animated?
This was just recently. I was in Vivica Darko's latest film, which was called Viv's Yuletide Tales. It was his third film. And there was an animated segment, and they were putting out casting calls, and I'm like, oh, voice actor, I'd like to add that. Because I can't really commit to, filming a movie right now. Because I've been in movies. I used to do special effects makeup in independent films and stuff. And
your makeup on Del here is good.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
You hand painted him, right?
I did, yes. I did hand paint him, yeah.
Do better next time.
Was
you look fine.
the eyes tricky?
Oh, you look great.
Just the color, the life.
These are actually repurposed eyes that I took the irises from existing glass eyes and put them on larger globes because they needed larger eyes. So, yeah.
Nice, dude.
Check out these lady blues.
What do you think? What do you think your most?
Well, I was going back to the voice acting thing.
Oh yeah, voice
too.
acting.
Yeah.
We go off on tangents here. Yeah.
Yeah, it happens. It's ADD.
It's just too much to talk
unmedicated,
about.
raw, informed ADD.
Yeah. So I went and auditioned and ended up with a part, and then somebody dropped out, ended up with 2 voice parts. And then somebody in one of the live action segments dropped out, and they said he begged me to be in it, and I'm like, he said 3 days tops. I'm like, okay, I'll give you 3 days. So I'm in this film, and it premiered in December. The animated segment is not done yet, but it will be on YouTube in the animated segment.
So when you go to like, what you said, like, what's it called when you try out for a film?
Audition?
Casting,
yeah.
yeah.
When you audition, like, is it just like record the voice and send it in, or do you go in person?
This was in person with Viv and the
what that recording
producer.
process look like? Something similar where you come in, there's a microphone, a guy with a computer, read your lines, or
This is a small production, so even less than that. But it was I just was given the script and was able to read the lines, and I don't want to spoil anything, but I get to play a glacier, a wise old glacier.
I like that.
And it's
like a nice
combination of 2 voices. A friend of mine who also auditioned got the same part. We combined our voices.
Ooh.
It's going to sound really cool.
Nice.
So yeah,
interesting.
How
hard is that to come up with like new characters or voices, or do you kind of already have a few ideas in your head? And
it is hard. I'm normally here's the biggest pitfall. I buy a lot of puppets. I mean, I do.
What we got? What
And
we
is
talking? We
this
talking like a dozen?
and
Hold
it's
on now. We got to figure out how bad this
at-
problem is.
At least 30.
That's a lot of.
And are they
puppets.
all stored in like a crate similar to this?
No, they're
or do they
various
have-
sizes. As far as large puppets, I tend to use those. I use about 5 or 6 characters regularly. I have Dell. I have. I didn't tell you my female character's name. I tried to come up with a name that was suggestive but not blatant, and I came up with Fonda Longfellows. You see?
Yeah, that is
perfectly innocent, unless you don't want it to be.
Very classy.
Fonda Longfellows. So I have Fonda. I have an old man puppet. I've only used a couple times, but he has a case like this. I have a drunk hillbilly because it's the law. You got to have a drunk or a hillbilly in your act.
Represent my people.
Yes, you have to have some sort of a bumpkin type character.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have God, I'm burning. I have some smaller puppets. There's a company called Axtel Expressions and they make latex puppets, and they're very cool. But they have some smaller ones. One is literally just a mouth. It's just, it fits on your hand, and it's just a big latex mouth.
Oh,
It's so funny. It has little slots where you can put sunglasses on it, but I just use it as a mouth. And about this time last year, or December of the year before, 2023, I did a Christmas party for a local dentist. And I thought, I got to get out the mouth.
Oh yeah,
and then the gag
pearly
was,
whites out.
yeah. So I got the mouth, and he said he had a job posing for dental manuals. And I said, "Hey, you remember this one?" And I just opened his mouth really wide, and it's like, "Yeah, that was me," So that was fun. But coming up with characters, I'm often influenced by or inspired by a puppet, and the problem is, I have a routine for this puppet. I buy this puppet, and that's one routine. And I can't come up with anything else. Dundles is like that. It's a good routine. I do one routine with him over and over because that's all I can come up with. And I hate to. It works so well. I don't know what I can add to it that will make it better, or even do something beyond that.
Like
It's hard to get a
new.
dummy to make a balloon animal.
Yeah, I mean
That checks out.
It's one of those things. It's you want to do. So I don't want to get in that trap where I am inspired by a puppet and I buy it and then I'm stuck because I have one routine with it.
Have you ever combined ventriloquism and magic and had your dummy help you with the magic?
I tell you, not quite like that, but there's a big crossover with that, which is kind of funny. I have a thing called a magic drawing board. It's a whiteboard, and you draw a face on it with eyes, mouth, and all that, and then it comes to life and it talks to you. So it's literally a combination of magic and ventriloquism. I think it's the perfect combination. It's very versatile. You can draw the face any way you want.
Yeah.
And I started doing this for kids, just a very quick routine where I would draw a character, and he would come to life. He would insult me, be a bully, and I would erase him. So
because you're in control.
Yeah. What do we do to bullies? We erase them. Okay.
I made you.
Yeah. I brought you into this world. I can take you out.
I created you.
So,
I
but
have
but
the
the
racer Anakin.
Yes, right. I have the high ground. You are my brother.
Yeah.
I did a show a while back for a local school. 6 shows in one day, one for each class, kindergarten through 5.
Shoosh.
Yeah, exhausting. The only good thing is I could set up once and tear down once, and then do all the shows.
Just leave it.
They just came to me, right? So there's at least like 200 kids in every class. This is a huge school.
Oh yeah.
And so I did the drawing board. Now, the gag is when I draw the character, I draw his eyes looking away from me. And as I'm talking about doing that, the eyes start to look towards me. The eyes move first. And the kids notice, but I don't. That's the gag. The kids are like, "Oh my God, he's moving, he's moving." I look back, the eyes whip back into the original position. "Oh, he's not moving. He's a drawing. He can't move." They start to move again. The kids go nuts, right? And eventually he starts moving and talking, and the act goes on. And they really get, whipped up sometimes. They get excited. Well, I didn't do these classes in order. It was like 3rd, 4th, 5th. What was it? 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, kindergarten first. That was the order they were in. So I did the older kids, and then I jumped down to the kindergartners. So I did pretty much the same act, but I got to the drawing board. I drew the eyes and the nose and the mouth and all this stuff. And as soon as the eyes moved, these kids in unison screamed at the top of their lungs.
The kindergartners?
Yes, and didn't stop the whole act. I couldn't do the act. It was just a cacophony of just absolute screams. And so I just kind of moved him, moved his mouth, moved his eyes, did a little bit, and erased him and stopped because they couldn't hear me.
Right.
So, but oh my gosh, these kids, my watch kept saying a loud environment, please leave immediately.
Mine does that every day at work.
Yeah, it's like crazy.
Speaking of that's a very unique performance though. Do you have a favorite or most memorable performance you've done, whether it be with magic or ventriloquism?
You better say knee.
Okay, no. A favorite performance. Oh my gosh.
Like maybe it was the venue that was right, or the crowd was just right, or maybe a favorite town or something. One that sticks out in your memory.
There was one, and this is another story too. It was a local school in Illinois, I believe North City, and that was a conglomeration of several counties. There were small towns and stuff. So this was a big school, and they brought me in to do a show. And so I went early, like a week early, to case the joint, basically. And so they brought me into the gym, and there's a big stage at the end of the gym, as there are in many schools. Yeah. So I started talking about, okay, well, the stage looks nice. Is there curtains? Because I have a backdrop. We go, oh, no, wait, no. You're not going to perform on the stage. You're going to be at center court facing one side of the bleachers. And I'm like, really? It's like, yeah, we just had this floor refinish. We can't put chairs on the floor. And I kept thinking, well, they'll sell you a vinyl mat that lets you do just that. You didn't buy that?
Right.
Okay.
No kidding.
So here I am trying to figure out, I'm at center court facing one side. There's a beautiful stage with curtains and everything. And here I am in the middle of a basketball court. I'm like, oh. So I had to provide, and I normally do, I try to come ready to go, battery powered if possible. So I had 3 backdrops I made into one big backdrop. I had halogen stage lights. I had my own speaker, microphone, all that good stuff. And they ran me 3 extension cords because I kept blowing circuits. My halogen lights were powerful. So I got it all set up. And now I'm doing all the kids, pre-K through senior and high school, all at once. So I always say that
Even in a small town, that is a boatload of kids.
Well, it's the range of the kids.
Yeah.
Because when I do preschool shows, it's a lot different.
Content, the content has to be versatile.
So I put the show together based on that. And I thought, gosh, how am I going to rally the crowd in? So I came up with a great line that when I came out and I said it, I did my opening act, which is a kind of a musical act with fire and cool stuff. And then I said, hey, thank you all for being here. Okay, now we've got pre-K kids down here. We've got seniors up here. So let me address the older kids first. I looked at the older kids and I said, okay, I'm going to do some things that are kind of geared towards the younger set. And I want you just to play along and have fun. You got it? Okay. And to you younger kids, I'm going to do some stuff that's going to blow the older kids' minds, and you can explain it to them later, okay? and everyone laughed, and everyone kind of warmed up, and they I addressed both sides of the fence, and it went really good. That was a really good show. And in that show, if I remember properly, and this was not the first time, I did a little bit of ventriloquism because I had a mind-reading bear puppet. Okay. And I did a little bit of ventriloquism at that time. And I realized I wasn't that great at it, so I didn't do it again for a long time. But that show was really good because it was a challenge. Again, I like rising to the challenge. It makes you think outside the box and really get kind of get it together.
You're very versatile, and again, I just have to commend you on your perseverance,
Thank you.
man. You're very versatile. You adapt and overcome, and that is something that I hold near and dear to my heart. That is a very awesome quality to have.
Thank you.
Is there any way we could talk you into doing a magic trick on the show?
Absolutely. You mind going back in the box?
Is that cool?
Yes, I must.
All right, he's got to go back in the box. All right.
I hate this.
All right, Del.
Give me your phone. I'm not giving you my phone.
It's like
I'll send you the OnlyFans later, Del, okay? I'll send it to you. Or I'll text it to you.
To it. Okay.
All right.
In you go.
All right. Be good, Del. Be good. Do you ever do like in the box talking, like after you put him in there and he's like muffled? Can you do it? Do you do like...
What do you mean?
I don't hear anything.
The distant voice. Yeah, that's a classic there. Yeah.
Did you hear that? Inside joke. But yeah, so is there a magic trick that you could possibly do for the podcast that would work? Or
I normally use a table to do magic. It's not a necessity. I have a little table here. I don't know if we'll all.
I can take that drink out of your way.
No, I just need a place just to set down cards here. I may move the microphone a little bit.
Yeah, just raise your voice a little bit. So there you go.
I can get the mic close. I'll just get really close on the mic. Welcome to the ASMR section of the show.
Also adult friendly here on the Days Grimm podcast. A lot of ASMR fans out there listening right now.
Okay, let's see. Here's a quick card trick. We're just doing a quick card trick. Is that cool? Okay, we got a quick card trick.
That's the Russian shuffle.
That was it.
Nice, dude.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll do some more. Yes, the Russian shuffle, because one card goes Russian after the other. I don't do that trick so much anymore with things going on in the world. I don't do that so much.
Yeah, you got to be careful. You got to tiptoe around the Russians.
Just a little bit here. So I would like to demonstrate that the deck is normal. The magician, not so much.
Okay, checks out. Looking good.
You guys missed that. Okay, great.
You are plenty normal. I think you're as normal as I am.
Okay, well, I think that's good, right?
I hope so.
Can I get you to choose a card for me?
Yeah.
Classic trick. Just grab one out of there, have a look at it, show it around. Don't show it to me, though. Show those guys.
Okay. And make sure you flash it to the...
To the mirror there. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to shuffle the cards. Just say stop anytime.
Stop.
Drop your card on top of there. Face up. Oh, you almost did it. That's amazing. That would have made it really easy on me if the card was face up and the rest were face down, wouldn't it? Yeah. All right, so check this out. So all I have to do is snap my fingers. Did you see the secret move?
I did. I didn't.
I didn't do it yet, man. Come on.
Okay, sorry. No, that's
Play along.
I didn't see it.
No, I did do a secret move. Actually, this is cool. Check it out. One card and one card only is changed from blue to red.
I'm very upset already.
Now, what are the odds that could be your card?
Probably pretty highly since it's the only color red in there.
Well, the odds would be 1 in 52, actually. But the chances are 100%. Ooh, 8 of diamonds.
Spicy.
Ooh. Hope you enjoyed that because I'm going to do that same trick 51 more times.
Here we go.
Now, I'm going to have you choose a card, but I'm going to do it like this. No, I'm going to do it like this. You're good. I'm just going to shuffle, and wherever you tell me to stop, whatever card you land on will be the card that you choose. So let me get going here. Okay, anytime. Today would be good. Have a look at that card. You got it? It's a different card, right? You can show over here. All right, cool. Yeah, are we good? All right. You look confused. Is it upside down?
You know what? No.
Yeah, you see, I got in there.
Let's start. Can you do it without it?
Now I know it's not the ace of spades. No, I'm not. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
I knew what it was before you chose it. But anyway, do you know any magic words?
Abracadabra.
Abracadabra is a great magic word. Or backwards, it's arba-de-carba.
Arba-de-carba.
I got bored and figured that out one day. So check it out. One card and one card only is changed from blue to blue. Okay, I went too fast. It's in there somewhere. It must be stuck together. One card and one card only. I don't want to screw up on this podcast. One card and one card only changes from blue. God, what did I do wrong? Oh, God, I know what I did wrong. I've only got the one red card, so I'm supposed to change your card back to blue before I change your card to red. But I didn't change that card back to blue, so I can't change your card to red.
Okay.
But I can change the red card. Yours.
I'm going to lose my damn mind.
I'm out, dude. I'm out. Sorcery. This is sorcery.
Oh,
dude.
my gosh.
Podcast, dude.
That's a great reaction. I love that so much.
Witchcraft?
I love that so much.
Oh, my gosh.
And that's why I can't go in the casino anymore. Well, they have no sense of humor,
Sir,
let me tell you.
Look again.
Yeah.
So, quick question.
21 again.
Counting cards. Rain Man, he could do it. Are you able to do it? Is that a thing that...
Is
it part of magic? Are people out there counting cards to do magic?
There's people out there that can do anything. I don't.
Okay.
Is it because it involves a deal with the devil, or
yeah? You sacrifice a goat you summon a demon. No, sign it in blood. No, I'm just kidding.
That's what abracadabra is backwards. You're summoning the demon. I get it.
Right? Yeah. No, honestly, there's a lot of misnomers about magic out there, and that's fine. It is attainable by anyone. People say, "Oh, my hands aren't, my fingers are too skinny, et cetera, et cetera." No, those are just excuses. You can learn magic. There's many ways. If there's something really physically you can't do, then you can do things that don't require that physicality. They're out there. But as far as things like counting cards, that is a thing.
I didn't know if it would be a task that would be, or a gift that would help enable certain tricks that maybe other card guys...
It certainly would, but it is difficult to do. So it's not something that most magicians do.
Yeah, and I think you have...
Because you're learning a lot about sleight of hand, then you're also having to keep calculations.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that checks out, man. Fascinating. That is...
Sleight of hand is easier.
Witchcraft, what I just witnessed right there.
Oh, no.
That is wild.
A little dark magic. No big deal.
My hairs on the back of my neck just stood up. Yeah. I don't know, man. Okay, so we're getting near the end of the show here, and we do like to ask the same question to everyone that comes on for the interview podcast that we do, and we like to ask, during this journey of magic and or ventriloquism, this 30-year span of time that you've been kind of cruising through, over 30 years now, was there ever a dark moment where you just wanted to hang it up? And it can be either or and or both, doesn't matter, but something like a dark moment that made you want to hang it up and just quit. More importantly, when you think of that moment, what was the motivation that kept you driving through that dark moment? That's what we care the most about.
There is a moment like that, And when I was, let's see, I got into magic and then met someone and got into a relationship. And looking back over the whole 4-year relationship, it was not a good relationship. It probably should not have happened. But I ended up in this relationship, and that pulled me away from magic completely for a year or two. And I just did not do it. And it was not, it was not a great time. I tried to convince myself during the time that it was okay. Everything was okay. It was not. And I'm straight up the catalyst that really, was getting out of that relationship. It's one of those things where you, early on, I think most people go through this, like you get your first job, like in high school, out of high school. Normally you get that because of a connection you have. Mom and dad, know some people. And that's certainly, mom knew the manager of Hardee's, and that was my first job. So, and then it moved on, and I knew or again, each job, and I worked for family for a while. But near the end of this relationship, I finally got a job because of me, because of my connections, not because I didn't need any help. I got hired for this job. Didn't work out. But anyway, so at that point, I just decided to move on. And so we were living together at that time, me and this person. And I kind of made it clear that I was, moving away, taking this job, about an hour away. And she was going to go to college about an hour the other way. So we mutually just ended the relationship. And at that point, things started looking up. I finally was adulting on my own. I moved right out of, my home, living with my mom, like a kid, into this relationship with this person who was much older than me. I used to have a thing for older women.
Love a MILF. I'm just saying.
When you get my age, when I say younger woman, that could be almost anyone.
So you guys split up and you got a lot more free time, so you can pick back up.
Well, I mentally got better.
Gotcha.
Because I wasn't being treated like an adult, so I didn't necessarily behave like an adult. And when I finally got out there and, like I say, was on my own, paying my own rent, living alone, doing this job
into the world.
Yeah, and it was like, okay, this is good. This is where I need to be. And there was a woman I had met in college during this relationship who became a really dear friend. And I knew at that moment that I was just going to run to her, So I got out on my own. Everything ended. I was living there for about a month, and I'm like, okay. So I, called her up and said, hey, let's go out. And we did. This was in February the 8th of 1992.
Good year.
Yes. We went to see, he's a fellow geek. We went to see Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country.
That is officially...
Each of us for the second time.
That's the nerdiest thing ever said on this podcast. So that checks.
We even met because of Star Trek. It was kind of cool. So... And we hit it off, and I knew she was the one. And we dated for, let's see. We started dating in 92. I proposed. We got married on Halloween of 1996.
God, that's so great.
I never forget my anniversary. And we've been married ever since. Coming up on, it'll be 29 years this year.
Wow, that's awesome.
So, and that's your driving force. That's the catalyst.
Oh my gosh.
For the man we see before us today.
Yeah. Yeah, and then in 2001 we had our daughter, Sarah. And
dang, dude.
What piece of advice would you give for somebody that wants to get into magic or ventriloquism?
Ooh, well, I am mentoring a young person right now with ventriloquism, but it does take a level of dedication. The great thing is you can do magic and do anything else. So that's what I do. I don't, I'd love to be full time, but this is Midwest USA.
Yeah.
So I do have a day job. But you can do that if you want to be a doctor or a lawyer and do magic. You can do that if you want to be a full-time magician. Do that. But don't do it for fame and fortune. There's a lot of magic on TV on shows like America's Got Talent, Penn and Teller Fool Us, and they're great. It's all great. Don't make that your goal. Don't make that your goal.
Just do it because you enjoy it.
Do it because you love it. Because if you get good enough, all that will happen. as much as you want it to.
Can you imagine a doctor that does magic and he's like, "Oh, I accidentally took out your spleen," and then like you're like, "What? I was here for my appendix," and he's like, "Just kidding, it's right here." You know?
He like pulls a plate out and a curtain. and it's
That
an
would be
appendix.
me. That's why I don't. Yeah, I would be. I would be horrible at things like that. But yeah. So yeah, if you do this, do it because you love it.
Love of the game.
Yeah, love the game. Throw yourself into it. Get good. You know, even if you don't have plans to become professional, it may happen. I didn't necessarily, think about becoming an actual magician, a performing stage, tuxedo tie wearing, a magician. But it happens. And also it's never too late. I can say that for sure, because here I am, dangerously approaching 57 years old, and just a few years ago, I started doing ventriloquism out of the blue.
So you can teach an old dog new tricks.
It's true. Yeah, I am the old dog, and these are new tricks. And not only that, I threw myself so hard into ventriloquism that in 2019 I joined essentially a competition at the convention, and I won first place.
Wow,
First place People's Choice Award. And then I did it again last year, 2024. So I'm a two-time
so now
first
they
place.
no longer do that tournament.
Yeah.
No. I tell you what, I love it. It's a really cool thing. And because I've lost a few times, and that's fine. That's where you learn. Because I entered it almost every year. But so 2 times I won it, and then this year they asked me to be on the evening show. So at this year's Van Haven Ventriloquist Convention, I'm part of the show.
Van Haven
is that?
Yes.
Van Haven is where? And yeah, what's the date on that?
It's in Erlanger, Kentucky, which is just outside of Cincinnati.
Okay.
And then pretty close to Fort Mitchell. And it is in mid-July. I think it's 4 days in July, starting, I think, the 16th this year.
So you'll do all 4 nights?
No, just one night.
Okay.
Because they have a lot of acts. This is like 500 to 700 ventriloquists show up in one spot. And
One
it's,
of our buddies
it's so cool.
would love that. You know exactly who I'm thinking of.
Yeah, that'd be a good
Comedian
time.
friend of ours. Yeah, dude.
So
It's a blast.
Where in the last few minutes, where can somebody find you if they want to reach out to you, if they want to book you for a bar mitzvah?
Okay, cool. Well, let's run the gamut here. If you want to see me perform every Friday at Taroni's Forget Me Not Inn on Weinbach Avenue in Evansville, I am there every Friday night from 6 to 8:30 doing table magic.
Nice.
And this will be 24 years I've been doing that there. So if you want to actually see what I do, that's the place to be.
Is it a certain part? Do you got to be in the bar or just in the restaurant?
Wherever. I normally hang around the family room. If you're in the bar, just tell your wait staff, they'll call me over.
So great.
Yeah,
Okay,
anytime. That's on Friday nights. My website is thejosephfranklinshow.com or josephfranklinshow.com. I bought them both. And there's a convenient little form you can click and fill out with all the correct questions if you need me for a show. I do everything from, birthdays, weddings, funerals, or whatever you got going on.
Okay.
Funerals.
For a funeral?
Well,
Jeez.
I know
Have you
I don't.
done a funeral?
I don't
Good God.
usually do the ventriloquism at a funeral. There, it's a little too soon.
That's what I want.
I just
Get like
wanted-
a prop-up thing to prop me up in
Yeah,
the
just let the
casket
guy
and-
say goodbye.
If
right?
you could make me the puppet. Wow.
I'm just twisted enough. I might do that, but
You're
but
a
I
genius,
do.
Tom.
But it's true that I do shows for all ages. If you want to,
Hey,
if you
your
have
family
preschool
pet
kids,
never dies if you
schools,
know a taxidermy and a ventriloquist. You know what I'm saying?
And I do want to also plug the website for the Drop Dead Darlings. It's thedropdeaddarlings.com. That you got to have the in there, unless you want to buy some clothing.
It's the Ohio State.
Thedropdeaddarlings.com. We're a burlesque troupe that's been around for 17 years. I've been with him since 2018, and it's a sexy, fun variety show. I do both ventriloquism and magic with a plethora of lovely assistants.
I got to go to this.
It's very cool. There's some of the most talented, creative people I've ever worked with, and I have done things with the Drop Dead Darlings that I never thought I would do. I'm not a singer, but I've gotten up and belted out a show tune. I've helped choreograph dance numbers, organize dance numbers. Other people choreograph them. Just things that I love. I'm doing stage magic. I'm doing sawing people in half. Never sawed a woman in half before, but now I do it regularly.
Now it's on the reg.
My assistants kept splitting on me.
I think
But,
Dahmer tried that, right?
Yeah. Just schwacking ladies on stage. left
that's
and
right. So there's me in the video right there. Yeah, and
It's so awesome.
So
dude.
it's a blast. So I get to do that, and we have each season's 4 or 5 shows, 3 or 4 or 5 shows. Based on, but you can go to that website and check out when the schedule
in the
that
group,
is.
you're the president of
the International Brotherhood of Magicians, Ring 56. If you go to ring56.com, that's our website. Nothing too fancy, but it just tells when the next meeting's coming up, basically. If you are interested in magic and you've got a sincere interest, This is not necessarily a club to join if you're first learning. You got to show us something. You got to show demonstrate your drive.
Like you said, there's an audition.
It kind of, yeah.
Okay.
It's a little informal, but we can suss it out pretty quick.
Okay.
Like if you try to pretend to be a doctor and you go talking to other doctors, you're going to get shot down pretty quick.
Yeah.
So we want people to know, that if we detect you have a sincere interest, you're in. We'll help you. Or if you're already a magician for some reason, not a member, gosh, get down there, guys.
Get down there and get in there.
It's fun.
Check those 3 websites out, man. Seriously. And do you have any? You've got the Taroni show. Do you have any upcoming gigs short of your regular Friday nights at Taroni's? Do you have a gig on the schedule for spring, maybe?
I've got a lot of the shows. My show list is on my website, and most of the shows I do are what you call private parties.
Okay.
Of course, there's birthday parties, but like when I do after proms for schools, things like that, late night stuff. I'm doing one of those this year. Of course, the March 1st is the next Drop Dead Darlings show.
Nice.
And right now, as far as public shows, I like to keep those on my website because I want people to come see them. This last year, I did the Vanderburgh County Fair. I did, 6 shows for them.
Golly, you're a busy man.
It's fun.
And that's, again,
as busy as I want to be.
josephfranklinshow.com or josephfranklinshow.com.
That's the place.
Find all your gigs and spots you're going to be hitting, man. Seriously, I am baffled by what you brought to the table today, but also as you do not have a character flaw that I have found yet.
Stick around.
Yeah, I'm very interested in you. You're a very, very kind, very generous dude. You're very good at magic, and the puppet is dope. So dope, terrifying but dope. You're a busy man, so we really appreciate you coming down, and giving us an hour plus of your time.
Thank you.
Thanks for letting us poke and prod around in your brain a little bit. Tom, do you have any last minute questions?
No, I think this has been another thrilling episode of the Days Grimm. My name is Thomas Grimm.
My name is Brian Michael Day.
And this has been Joseph Franklin.
Thank you so much, Joseph. I appreciate you, sir.
Thank you guys so much.
Bye.